monarchies of Europe, the Romanovs in Russia, the Hohenzollerns in in Germany, the Habsburgs in Austria-Hungary, and so forth. After that, let's start to really wreak a lot of mischief throughout Europe in the way the borders are set up. Let's then take over Russia as they did, because that was a way of undoing what they called the anti-Semitic Romanov family. It is a proven fact that Jakob Schiff, who was one of the main bankers together with Warburg at Kuhn, Loeb and Company, which has since become part of the J.P. Morgan Chase empire, he literally financed the Japanese against the Russians in 1905 because he said, I will finance anything to get rid of the Romanov family. It didn't work because the Japanese won the Russo-Japanese War in 1905, but it didn't bring down the Soviet Empire. So what did he do? Mr. Schiff at Kuhn-Loeb had a partner by the name of Yvotovsky, and Mr. Yvotovsky had a daughter called Natasha, and Natasha married a guy from Brooklyn called Lev Davidovich Bronstein, that world history has come to know as Leon Trotsky. And a lot of the financing for the Bolshevik Revolution to get rid of the Romanov dynasty was financed by Kuhn-Loeb and Company via Mr. Bronstein, alias Leon Trotsky, who lived in Brooklyn, and also via Mr. Lenin, who was at that time in Switzerland. So there was a lot of financing of the Bolshevik Revolution by international banking circles, very, either part of the Jewish financial empire or very close to it, because you had J.P. Morgan in that too. Naturally, you had the Rothschilds, where J.P. Morgan acted as a sort of agent for the Rothschilds in the United States. So when you start following the money track, you find all these things. And as you very aptly said, Lord Balfour, in 1917, made his Balfour Declaration, and he gave it to Lord Rothschild. I mean, he didn't give it to anybody. He gave it to Lord Rothschild. And they were already planning on what to do with the Palestine Mandate that was in the hands of Britain, and they started splitting it up and giving a part of it to the Jews. Then came World War II, and a lot of things happened. But in the long run, you can tell how they very, very slowly achieve their goals. And I'll wrap this up by saying something. I'm speaking to you right now from Argentina. I'm an Argentine citizen, and one of the reasons I am very, very, very keenly interested in understanding this whole process is because the founder of Zionism, Theodor Herzl, who wrote in 1896 a book called The Jewish State, you can buy it in just about any bookshop, it's a very short book, he says that he said this in 1896, that the Zionist movement should target two specific areas to set up their Jewish state: Palestine or Argentina. And there's a chapter where he asked the question, should we aim at Palestine or should we aim at Argentine? Because at that time he said Argentina was a very underpopulated, very full of very good natural resources country with a huge territory, and that Argentina should be interested in selling a large part of its territory for money.
Okay. The Nazis did migrate. A lot of them in the upper levels migrated to Argentina, didn't they, after World War II?
Well, after World War II, we had a very, this is, let's say, the less known part of history. There were three main areas where the Nazis went, especially their scientists. One of them was the Soviet Union, because they were dragged over there. A lot of them were either shot, killed, executed, and so forth, and others were forced to work for the Soviet space and nuclear program. Others were sent by the United States of America back to America, and for example, Werner von Braun, who designed and invented the V-1 and V-2 bombs that fell over London, is also responsible for your space program. And thanks to Werner von Braun, you had the Saturn rockets, and you finally got somebody in orbit and put somebody on the moon, supposedly. And a third part of those scientists were shipped to Argentina via the Vatican, because in 1946, Juan Perón, who was president of Argentina for 10 years, the guy was very shrewd and said, I see what's happening. The Americans are taking their best Nazi scientists, the Russians are doing the same, well, I'm going to do the same thing too. And it worked because Argentina was the first country in Latin America to have jet aircraft. Actually, there were 3 airplanes: the MiG-19 from the Soviet Union, the F-86 Sabre from the United States, and a fighter aircraft called the Pulki, that were all based on the original Messerschmitt, I think it was 219 design, because it was the same scientist. In our case, it was a guy by the name of Kurt Tank and Hans Ulrich Rudel. They are the ones who came here and they had all government support to develop jet aircraft, to develop rockets, and also we had a nuclear program. That's why Argentina is one of the few countries that was able to have the full plutonium production cycle, which we later abandoned for political reasons and so forth. And naturally, we're not after any nuclear bombs or anything of that sort. But yes, a lot of the Nazis came down to Argentina, just as many Jews also came down to Argentina after the war.
Now, you know, I've got a film out, Adrian, that so the title of it is "No Such Thing as the New World Order." I said, you know, who gave us this term New World Order? Well, actually Hitler gave it to us. George Bush reiterated it. But my thinking is that the money changers that Jesus ran out of the temple are still with us today. They just changed the name of the temple. They call it the Bank of England or the Federal Reserve now, or the International Monetary Fund. And this has been going on for thousands of years. They don't have the power that they would like us to believe, as a friend of mine told me once, because if they did, we'd still be under the Roman Empire or the Persian Empire. But this plan for one world government was pretty well outlined and documented in the protocols of the Elders of Zion. But you can't read that. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't read that. Don't you know that's a forgery? That's a forgery. I see. Well, wait a minute. Let's see. What is a forgery? Oh yeah. That's a good forgery is an exact duplicate of the original. So what does it matter who wrote it? What matters is who is using it today. And if you actually go back and read the most hated and slammed document in history, you find out that everything they talk about, and they talk about installing a one world government with Lucifer or Satan at the top of it, it's happening right now.
First of all, congratulations for having the courage to touch upon the subject of the protocols of the Elders of Zion. I do that too here. The local Jewish agencies here and organizations have said that I'm a virulent anti-Semite. I actually had to sue them for saying that. The document where they talk about anti-Semitism in Argentina, 2006 and 2007, they dedicate 12 pages to me. They translate it into English, and it's on the official Anti-Defamation League website, just for you to have an idea how they've been treating me. Because as you correctly say, there will probably never be any way of proving who wrote the protocols of the Elders of Zion. But let's face it, whether it was the Jews, the Masons, the New York Yankee fans, or whoever, it has been completely precise. For over 100 years, everything that's written in there is happening. So I don't care who wrote it. The thing is that it is absolutely legitimate, and it's true, and it's happening right in front of our eyes. So in a way, that was probably one of their biggest leaks that they ever had. And just to bring some more stuff to the table, which I think will interest your audience, in Argentina we also had a similar document called Plan Andinia, the Andinia Plan, or Andinia referring to the Andes Mountains, which supposedly was a speech, a very secret speech given by Rabbi Gordon from the United States when he came to Argentina in 1961. And the guy says, basically, what we're going to do is we're going to split Argentina into two parts. We're going to infiltrate them. We're going to take over the southern part of the country. We're going to declare it independent. We're going to get the United Nations to recognize that independence so that the remaining Argentina will not be able to do anything about it, because if they try to invade us, they will be invading a sovereign country recognized by the United Nations. And that's how we're going to create the second Jewish state. Now, naturally, all the Jews here say, oh, it's another protocols of the Elders of Zion. There's no proof of it. And it's true, there is no documentary proof that that took place. But when you start looking around to everything that's happened in Argentina since 1961, 62 onwards, you can see how that plan is going forward and going forward and going forward. Throughout the Patagonia, which is the southern part of Argentina, and also the southern part of Chile, permanently they are discovering that there are, quote-unquote, Israeli hippies going around, doing a lot of trekking, surveying the land, and we had our main newspaper in Argentina. You see, Clayton, they always make mistakes, and we have to be very